I have a little 8-year-old boy who's perfect, and sometimes he'll get a tummy ache when he doesn't want to do something, or if he's nervous, and I'm not exactly sure what the feeling is. And I'd like to know what words I can use to help him bridge that gap and no longer have that manifestation of a tummy ache, because I think it's different every time, and I'm not really sure what to say to him.
The most important thing to a parent, if you're wanting to be of value to your child, is don't ask your children to move forward in action when they have obvious contradicted energy going on. In other words, isn't that always when you stub your toe or cut your finger? Aren't you almost always in an obvious negative place when something like that goes wrong? So the thing that we would want to say to him is, this is good, sweetheart. Your guidance system is telling you that something's bothering you. There's something that you're wanting that your thoughts are in opposition to. But that's hard for most parents to hear, because most parents will say, well, yeah, he doesn't want to do what I want him to do. So the little bugger deserves a little contradicted energy going on. And then most parents say, never mind how you feel, do what I say, because my happiness is much more important in this moment than your own. You see. And that's why the children that are coming forth, have you noticed, are coming forth with more determination to hold their own ground, to be a vibrational match to who they are. They are becoming more rebellious. You are calling them indigo children. You are calling them autistic. You are calling them all kinds of things, as they are determined not to be round pegs hammered into square holes. They're coming forth with stronger resolve from non-physical, you see. You see, here's the thing, that if you have opportunity to be with your child a lot, you would see evidence of negative emotion long before you would see evidence of physical pain. In other words, there was plenty of emotional guidance that happened before it got bigger and became this tummy ache. And so what you want to say is, so how does this tummy ache feel? And he would say, well, it hurts. And you say, no, I don't mean how does it feel. I mean, now you're not feeling good. How else does that feel? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it eager? Is it depressed? Do you feel like you want to do something? Do you feel like you don't want to do something? See if you can help him figure out what the emotional essence. We say to physicians and scientists all the time, when you stop looking for cures and you start looking for the vibrational root, now you'll have something. There are more illnesses on your planet today than ever before with all of this advance in medicine. And it's because no one yet is addressing the vibrational root of it, you see. So when you say, or when you figure out on your own what's happening that's causing that stress, then maybe you can begin offering words that ease that a little bit. There are many who are saying, even here, we can feel you thinking, well, maybe he ate something, and maybe it's gastrointestinal, maybe he has allergy to something that he's eating, maybe something bit him, maybe there's a virus, and we say, well, maybe all of those things, any of those things could be there too, but there is a vibrational cause. There's only one reason, you see. Vibrational discord. Only one reason, vibrational discord. So you take your child to the ER and they say, what's wrong? And you say, my child has vibrational discord. They say, what? Well, say, well, just give him something to make him feel better and I'll deal with the vibrational discord. Vibrational discord is at the root of all of it. So if it's something that's happening a lot, then that means that the life that your child is living is causing desires to be moving, and there is some sense of not being able to move forward. Can you figure out what it is?
I can't actually, and I tried to ask him how he's feeling, because I agree. I agree that it's all vibration.
Well, when was the last time he had this tummy ache?
The other day when he didn't want to go to school, because...
So what do you mean you can't figure it out?
Well, no, I can figure out that it's because he didn't want to go to school, but I don't know the exact emotion and how to then move it up to the next emotion.
Well, that's not your job, really. Your job is just to try to soothe him. So he doesn't want to go to school. Why do you think he doesn't want to go to school?
Because it would be more fun to go surfing with me.
Why don't you go to school?
Because I've already been there.
So why don't you stay home and do something miserable so that he doesn't feel jealous?
Because that would make me feel bad.
So surfing makes you feel good and going to school makes you feel bad, and that's just the way it is. Deal with it. Yes? Then
I see your point. I get.
So what you want to help him to understand is that you're not always surfing, but you don't have to be surfing to feel good. And that he's not always surfing, but he doesn't always have to be surfing to feel good. Say to him, if I made you go surfing with me every single day, if every day, rain or shine, no matter what the temperature of the water, no matter what, if I made you go surfing, no matter what, pretty soon you'd be having a tummy ache over going surfing. It's not about what you're doing or about what you're not doing. It's about how you're feeling about what you're doing. So his tummy ache is not because he's not going surfing. There's something that's happening at school that he is perceiving that is contradicting his energy. In other words, there's something that makes him rather do something else. It's hard to find your place because you can't logically take your child out of school just because he doesn't want to go and take him surfing. And if you could do that, you would be teaching a very conditional alignment. You'd be saying, oh, I see that this experience causes you misalignment, so I will manipulate your conditions so that you can have different conditions to focus upon, and if you're focusing upon this condition, you'll feel better, where if you focus on that condition, you feel bad, so I will rearrange the conditions so that you can feel better. And that's not at all what we're teaching either. What we want you to teach your child, and you can't teach it until you're really living it yourself, and it's something that everyone's working on, is that you must find a way to feel good without the condition changing.
I agree with that, and that's the part I have difficulty verbalizing to him. That's the part that I don't know how to bring down to the 8-year-old level of, because when I'll say, well, think of the good things about school, or think of how fun this will be today, or that, and he then just gets kind of frustrated with me, and so I don't know if I'm
because he doesn't think you
far.
Understand, because there are things that are there that don't feel good, and he thinks you don't know, and you're just sugarcoating them. And that's the reason that you have to tell him that it's his work. What you have to convey to him through the clarity of your example is that if you're ornery, except when you're surfing, which we know you're not, if you're having knee-jerk reactions to things and you're not demonstrating how in the midst of this thing that could be a whole lot better, I'm still looking for a reason to feel good, that's the only way you can make this point with your children. You have to show them that you are finding ways to feel better without conditions changing. Just for a little bit, tell us, when he comes home from school, what kinds of things does he say?
Well, usually when he first comes home from school, nothing. How was school? Fine. And he doesn't really want to talk about it. And then later on in the day, he'll talk about it more.
What kinds of things?
Just about playing and things. The last time he got nervous, he was with his dad, and they were at SeaWorld, and they wanted him to come on stage and play with a sea lion. And he raised his hand, and he got asked up on stage, but then he said he had a tummy ache, and he went back. And so his dad sent me a long email because he was frustrated, saying he keeps getting these tummy aches and he's missing out on exciting things because he doesn't want to do them. And I don't think we should force him to do them. I think we should let him, if he's nervous and doesn't want to get on stage, he shouldn't go. But more than that, I want him to then be able to soothe himself and not be worried about those things, so he either will go on stage or not go on stage, but either way be happy.
How do you see his school? Have you thought much about it? In other words, how many hours a day does he spend there?
5 or 6 or 7.
Is there anything that you do that you spend that much time doing?
No.
So when you think about this 5 or 6 or 7 hours that he spends there, what is the space you hold in your mind for him? Is it a way to get him out of your hair? Is it a way to keep him occupied so that you can do other things? Is it an environment for him to expand? Is it an environment of contrast for him to give birth to desires? How do you see this environment where he spends such a big part of his life?
I see it that he gets to be around other friends because he's very social, and he gets to be around kids and try different things and do different things. And a lot of times he likes it. It depends on the teacher. It depends on how mean or bossy the teacher is that day, I think. So some days are more freedom at school, and some days are not as much freedom. So the days when he has great freedom, he really likes it. And I understand that.
All right. So do you see this school environment as a sort of parallel to the world in general, where it's sort of like a little microcosm of life, where there are things that he looks at that make him feel good and things that he looks at that make him feel bad? And would you want to feather his nest so much that he would not have this early exposure to contrast?
No, I think
of course you
that's
wouldn't. So when you think of him being there, you look at it as part of the reason that he was born. He came forth to explore contrast, and the school environment is a wonderful way for youngsters to begin exploring contrast. And so can you see that the contrast causes him to give birth to desires?
Yes.
So can you see that something's happening there that's causing him to give birth to a lot of desires? In other words, this is the thing that we want you to hear. If he were just there and the contrast were not causing his vibrational escrow to be over here while he's over here, there wouldn't be this big contradiction going on within him. There wouldn't be this tug of war. There wouldn't be this tummy ache. And so the fact that the contrast is producing something pretty strong means that who he really is from source energy perspective, is really excelling as a result of this. You want to find ways to help the rest of him keep up with that excelling. That's the mindset that we want you to hold as a parent. We don't want you to look at the environment as something that is treating him wrong and that you'd like to change. The environment is what it is, just like every environment is what it is. It's hotter in here than many of you want. This isn't the room that Jerry and Esther wanted. Jerry said this morning, we can be unhappy about it, or we can find something to appreciate about where we are. In other words, when you are in a situation where you cannot control a condition, you have a choice to feel good in your not controlling the condition, or bad and you're not controlling the condition. So as you think of your son there, think of him in this wonderful contrasting experience. In other words, don't side with him about what's gone wrong, and don't yippee too much over what's going right. Just in your own mind, think of it as the perfect environment for him to do what he intended to do when he came forth, was to experience contrast and give birth to desires. But then in your own mind, as the mentor parent that you are, recognize that he's giving birth to ideas that he's not keeping up to speed with. If somebody you didn't know called you on the phone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you I would never call you again, you would say, who cares? In other words, there has to be something that you want before you feel the angst when you're not getting it. If he hadn't given birth to desires that he's not fulfilling, he wouldn't be getting tummy aches. He wanted to go up on that stage to play with the sea lion. He wanted to, but his doubt and his fear were holding him back. So he wanted to go, but his thoughts were, I won't be good, people will laugh, I won't do a good job, I'll embarrass myself. And in other words, those are the thoughts that he was thinking. So let's say that you're going to SeaWorld and you're seeing others go up on the stage, and he's not one that's been called to go up there. And so it's not an issue this time, but you're saying things to him like, I bet you'd be really good at that. And I know how animals take to you. And I'll bet you that if you were up there that you'd forget about all of the people, and that you just have really a delicious experience with this whale or dolphin or whatever it is. As you, as his mentor, sort of get a bird's eye view of what you think his contrast exposure has caused him to want, and you start being like his inner being, only you're like the beamed-in satellite version. You're down there close to him, calling him over, encouraging him. You're really good at these kinds of things, and I know how people love to be with you, and I know your teacher really likes you, and the reason she's hard on you is because she knows how smart you are. She just wants the very best from you. And I know teachers are boring. I don't like my teachers either, and so how you feel is how you feel, you're saying to your child. But I know that she just sees so much in you, and as you offer soothing words in the same way that his source is, you'll begin to notice that he begins hearing that. And we don't want you to try to create in his reality. We just want you to understand what's going on. The whole world is out there thinking that they know better what's better for your son, and they don't know. His gut's telling him what's better for him, you see. We think that he should come in his own terms, which means once he's soothed, once it feels good to go, then go. Take no action when it doesn't feel good. It always leads to negative repercussions. Tummy ache then becomes an ulcer, then becomes a true dysfunction. This is an indicator. Let the indicator do its work. Let it indicate cross vibration, and do something about soothing the cross vibration. And don't try to do it through action. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. It is delightful to come together with those like you who are coming to know more clearly and every day who you are. We make far too much about all of this. Be easy about it. You've already done most of the work. You've lived the contrast, and you've built your vibrational escrow. And Source is surrounded by the energy that is causing that part of you to amass. In other words, do you have any idea of the power of the future experience that you will live, that is the present experience for the Source within you? And think about law of attraction now responding to who you have become, calling you toward it. It's no wonder you feel bad when you don't go, and it is no wonder you feel so good when you do go. Be easy about it. Don't work so hard at it. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain eternally incomplete.